Indiana utilities have more influence on politics in the state than you might imagine. Net metering is a good example. It's the credits people with solar panels on their roof get for delivering extra energy back to the grid. A lot of people like it and it makes solar more affordable. But as Indiana Public Broadcasting's Rebecca Thiel reports, those credits are getting phased down this year.
Former Republican State Representative Ron Bacon lives out in a small subdivision surrounded by farmland, just a few minutes east of Evansville.
And then in the wintertime, we get twice as many, because then all the Canadian geese come. So it gets pretty wild out here, but they stay close.
Bacon got solar panels installed on this storage barn in 2015. It powers not only the family's home, but also the barn, which houses a greenhouse and their 2 classic cars.
It's still customized to the point it's what we call resto mod.
Bacon lives far enough out that his home doesn't have natural gas heat, which up until this winter was cheaper for a lot of Hoosiers than electric.
Our bill was running between $600 and $700 a month. And so I decided that was way too much for me at that time and started looking into solar.
Now his bill is around $160 for the whole year. He also feels like he's doing something good for the environment.
I'm not an environmentalist, and as people would say, oh, you know, I said, but I'm not against doing what we can. Everyone should do as much as they can.
But Bacon says he wouldn't have done it if it weren't for the credits he gets from net metering and the federal tax credits at the time. Solar panels take most Hoosiers about 12 years to pay off. With higher net metering rates going away this year, it's likely that payback period will get even longer and discourage people from going solar. But rooftop solar is something a lot of people support. Environmentalists like it. It gives rural residents energy independence. It helps businesses meet their climate goals, and it creates jobs. It's also slowly becoming something that both Democrats and Republicans can agree on. The law to phase out higher net metering rates passed in 2017. Since then, lawmakers have proposed at least 7 bills to overturn it or change it. Half of them got bipartisan support, but none of them even got a hearing. Which begs the question, who doesn't want net metering? The answer? Indiana utilities.
Wind and solar are great. We acknowledge that, we support that, but not to the economic detriment of the majority of our customers who either can't afford it or who do not want it.
When you pay your electric bill, most of that money goes to build and maintain things like power plants and lines. But if you get solar panels and deliver more energy to the grid than you use, McGrath says those costs could get shifted onto your utility's other customers. But some critics say utilities' problem with net metering has less to do with customer fairness and more to do with profits.
They basically have guaranteed customers. In the vast majority of places, you don't get to choose who is supplying your electricity. And so if you decide to put solar on your roof, you begin to undermine that monopoly status.
By 2017, Ron Bacon says utilities were working hard to get rid of the incentive.
The last 2 or 3 weeks of the session, I think they hired every lobbyist that they could find in Indiana.
Since the start of 2017, Indiana utilities and utility groups have spent more than $3.5 million on lobbyists to represent their interests. Duke Energy spent the 8th most of any group in the state. The Indiana Energy Association ranked 11th. Over time, utilities have also donated $70,000 to the chair of the Senate Utility Committee's campaign and $50,000 to the utility chair for the House. All of this makes it harder for solar advocates to be heard. Energy policy researcher Leah Stokes says the fact that bills advocating for rooftop solar are getting more bipartisan support shows progress. But it might take hearing from more everyday people to get them passed.
The power of the people is still really important in this country. It's really important for people to write to their state representatives, state senators, and say, I want solar to be an option in Indiana. I don't want you to make it even harder for me and my neighbors to go clean and green.
We reached out to the lawmakers that chair both state utility committees. Neither could be reached for comment. For Indiana News Desk, I'm Rebecca Thiel.